States says it will waive sanctions on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline being built between Russia and Germany. It clears a major obstacle towards the conclusion of the project and comes in spite of Washington's strong opposition, amid fears the pipeline will increase European energy dependence on Russia. Well, for more on this, we're joined now by Dr. Thomas O'Donnell, energy and geopolitical analyst at Berlin's Hertie School of Governance. Thanks very much for coming on to Euronews now. So the US waiving sanctions on the most important player in the construction of this scheme. How surprising is this?
It's not so surprising immediately in considering what's gone on in the last 2 or 3 months. Obviously, a very important event that's going to take place is a summit between Biden and Putin. This has to do with Putin putting 150,000 troops around Ukraine, and it has to do with getting Russia on board for also in the Middle East a deal with Iran. So I can see why he pulled back a little bit. In particular, he pulled back on the Germans.
Are there other factors coming into play here?
Well, yes. The Americans are completely opposed to this pipeline. They've been opposed to the whole grand scheme of the German-Russian energy collaboration that's gone on for a number of years. That means that Putin is building pipelines to avoid having to send his gas through Ukraine, Belarus, and Poland, especially Ukraine. And once he's got these other pipelines accomplished, such as Nord Stream, and there's another called Turk Stream in the south, he will have no, what should I say, he will not be risking anything by whatever chaos he might cause or whatever invasions and so forth he might cause, military aggression against Ukraine or those other countries. So this is a serious matter for the United States, and they've strongly opposed this. And right now, there's this run-up to this big summit that's going to take place. So I would say that's the reason the United States pulled back in the immediate. Normally, these sanctions should have killed the pipeline. The American diplomats worked very hard, and they got the insurance companies and the commissioning companies, reputable international companies, to withdraw. But the Danish and German agencies that issued the permits don't seem to care, and they've, surprisingly to everybody, including to Congress, have allowed them to continue constructing. It's not clear who's doing those services for Gazprom right now.
And what about Germany's stance and the concerns of other European countries?
Contrary to what a number of analysts and ex-officials have said, everybody assumes that Germany must be talking to the Americans behind the scene, trying to mitigate this problem by making some deal to take care of, to help protect, especially Ukraine, but Poland and also Belarus, from what could happen to them when this pipeline is finished. But the Germans are absolutely, as far as I can see, talked to several diplomats, different countries. They're adamant. They don't have any serious discussion with the Americans. There's even a certain sense of triumphalism that they're building this together with the Russians. Now, they've sacrificed a lot. I mean, you would think the Germans would be interested in this partnership with the Americans. When Biden came in, he offered a partnership on this new Green Deal, transatlantic, and everyone was excited. Well, you haven't heard anything about it, even though John Kerry, the energy, the climate change person was here, because Americans simply can't do this. Congress would be very upset they make such a deal with the Germans, and the Germans haven't offered anything to mitigate the effect of this pipeline.
And briefly, just in a sentence, if you can, does this mean the pipeline will now get completed, and if so, when?
It's quite likely the Russians will carry it out themselves, and it could be by the end of summer, September. There could be glitches. The Americans would have to directly sanction the German allies to really stop it for sure. And they're not going to do that right now.
Dr. Thomas O'Donnell, thanks very much for your analysis there on Euronews Now. A record number of 55 million people worldwide are internally displaced. That's according to the internal